Okay, so like depending on the impression right now of like the program phone, like the people behind still there and process interest is on like and the current time, like the first reason for like them not only asking like the protagonist's name but also asking his like birthday. Like I'm just maybe just maybe it's possibly but possibly having to do with like maybe age having like a lot of relevance and like the good game. Maybe I'm considering the all the attackers, like everyone, and I'm still thinking about the members that like everyone who would be like joining like this game would be basically through this guys like people behind the game like exactly like the protagonist like specifically trapping all a bunch of others into like basically feeling as like they have no other choice but to like enter in the Squid Game and think that through that process like eventually want to like such uh, have people who are joining through such process those people who will be like joining into like Squid Game and such different they would all be like specifically the attacker, considered as like the attacker, the element of the machine. And they would be like the first, people within wearing like the green uniform, that's definitely like the Rangers. So like not only the Rangers but like from like all these thumbnails like ones with like who are like wearing red uniform and wielding guns like those would be like the defenders while the ones wearing like green uniform would be like the attackers who would be like the first people who exactly like the protagonist would be like trapped into like entering into like the studio. It's definitely my opinion. So like I'm considering precisely due to like the people behind the Squid Game even asking like the birthday of like the like example to bring definitely most likely have maybe that probably has to do with like age being like an extremely relevant factor in like the Squid Game and the different maybe like there would be like multiple Squid Games and just like each of those Squid Games like classified and differentiated according to like the classifications of like age group. It's definitely going to be there and the different like uh, there possibly being like three Squid Games where like the first Squid Game would be like one Squid Game would be like the Squid Game specifically for the youth and like the second Squid Game would be like the Squid Game but solely for like the middle-aged people type of like going into like the Squid Game while the third Squid Game would be like precisely for solely for like the age people who are like elderly people who are like who might be probably entering into like the group of elderly people who would be like joining into like the studio and definitely going to be the generation. So like that way like that's also like a individual possible scenario that I'm also happening for like the protagonist to discover once he would be like finally entering into like the Squid Game of definitely going to be the that way like protagonist is actually initially entering into like the Squid Game of like the middle-aged group it's definitely also like an individual problem scenario that it is developing by the Nigerian. So like definitely my Nigerian position right now as of like the safe person in like the car, driving the car in like already uniform, like putting like the people participating in like the Squid Game along with like the protagonist to sleep that basically so this precisely because of like the Squid Game being like being even conducted as like such in such extreme privacy and like it would be done in such an extreme undisclosed location in like the middle of nowhere. It's definitely my position and so like precisely like the person in like the red uniform putting the protagonist and like the other participant to sleep straight away on entering the car precisely because like them not wanting like the participants to like find out like the path leading to like the Squid Game arena or location. It's definitely my position, precisely because like the people conducting the Squid Game would be taking that absolute precaution that basically because like the Squid Game would be like extremely scary and dangerous and basically since like all these like people participating in like the game will definitely be going through extreme suffering and all that like under the worst case scenario according to those villains like who are running Squid Game like they might have thought like from their point of view like the worst case scenario in which like one of them even succeeds in escaping like basically uh, then like even if someone escapes like basically they won't be able to like they won't be having any evidence as to like where, or like won't be able to like tell where exactly like they won't be even able to like properly even escape like even if they escape like the building of the escape lane like they won't be able to like easily escape precisely because of like them not knowing like where exactly because like them being brought into like the escape game location while being in like by so that like even if such a scenario even happens like and basically even if like one of like the participants in like the Squid Game even manages to like escape like the building of the Squid Game still numbers of enemy will be at such an extreme undisclosed location far away from like the city that basically they wouldn't even be able to like easily know the best way to like get back into electricity precisely and solely because of like them. And that can even if they escape like the building of the stadium, they won't be able to like escape, get very far and basically escape and be able to like make it back to like the city solely because of like them being brought into like the Squid Game building in like while being put into sleep. So this precise and so that is definitely my positive impression. Also like I'm personally only correcting for like also like the possibility that like the Squid Game, like the building and like where like the Squid Game will be taking place actually being basically maybe being in like some private islands for like bought by some Indian app for that absolute secrecy. It's also like a possibility that I'm personally for different. So like even if anyone even escapes like the building of the Squid Game, like they will be like absolutely clueless as to like where exactly to go because they were still trapped in that island with like them being brought there while being in like a sleep like state and hence like having no ideas to like where exactly to go and hence like the probability of them once again getting captured and being captured and being brought back into that very same Squid Game before they can like escape the island being like that much higher. It's also like the only my theory impression. Okay, so like the Canadian president impression right now, the fact almost like the entirety of like the other players in like green uniform, along with like the protagonist like being like middle-aged to like old people like that. So I think this right now I'm looking like the number 456 being like the total number of players. If we like only the total number of players of this section, the section of like players with the age group of that from middle age to old is definitely not the while I'm looking there the total is just like another total different section of like players who have also participated in like this weekend them all belong to the age group of like basically of youth, especially my of teenagers and youth, was definitely my totalitarian culture. And their group participating would be of like a way greater number than like the age group of like the protagonist in like middle age to like group is definitely not possible. So like while like protagonist like age group like basically number for number of players alone like for the players and also like other age group in like another room, like there will be like the age group of youth, with total number of players of like the age group of youth in like another room, and they will be like way more than 450. Their total number would be way more than 450. This is definitely my personal impression. So like definitely I'm still sticking to my personal theory and tradition right even right now that basically that besides that basically stole from like the protagonist like basically in like the beginning like basically her being present in that precise room of players where like the protagonist is and basically where like the top where like almost the entire like the players of like the age group seem to be of like the zero from like middle age to end of like the age group from middle age to old like but like her basically almost seeming as like as if like an odd one out with like her being like in most likely her early 20s like basically about different like she anticipated so like about different and also that adding that reason adding to while adding up with like the third reason were like her basically stealing like the formula of like the protagonist was like that being like a great push given to the protagonist to feel as like he had no other choice but to like enter into like this good game as well. Collectively, because of all this reason, my personal impression that I'm still thinking on those definitely that like that precise girl stole the money from like the protagonist and that precise girl who's like present in that precise Squid Game room. With like the protagonist and all the middle-aged those people like I'm considering have to definitely be a fight of like the people running like Squid Game is definitely my personal preference. So you'll be only working for like the Squid Game facilities definitely my personal impression. So like I'm considering she might actually I'm considering eventually for her to like make that reveal that she is like and like I'm considering like if she would be like eventually like I'm considering one of like the radio phone attackers like showing up into that space room to really stop the whole fighting. It's like as that as a person whom I'm considering is definitely she would definitely be like that girl would definitely be an orphan and like this person who's like traffic her would be like the first person that might have in like the past might have looked after her but like still he might have been totally a villainous character. So like I'm just saying, like eventually this girl might have totally like got the offer to not join and be part of like the be a candidate to like the Squid Game, but like she the first offer that she might have totally got might have been to like work in like the Squid Game facility as like a dependent definitely my pressure. So like that's like the eventual twist that I'm totally looking for her skill like right now with like the whole with that precise person who had looked after her right now, attacking her like basically supposing right now one of like the defenders showing up and one of the defenders precisely uh, carrying her out of that room. Where like all the attackers, like the middle aged group attackers are like basically, and like the next time, like all these like the protagonist and all of these like middle aged group attackers would be seeing this precise girl would be like in her like red uniform, which definitely maybe like my personal impression. So like she might have been precisely like a spy. This is definitely my personal impression. Sent by precisely like the people running like the Squid Game to like precisely like for them to like even though they have CCTV cameras to like basically monitor like the entirety of like the huge room where like all the middle aged group attacks are players walk up from. Still like even with CCTV like they might want to like personally as well study like the behaviors of like the entire players in like the middle age group and above. It's definitely my concern. To totally study their characters and behavior and personality before in a well thorough manner for like a final study like in person through this precise by letting this precise girl enter into that precise room. Would this definitely my personal impression. That would be what like happening is definitely right now. It's definitely my personal impression. So that like they could expect like what like the possible like decisions or like the possible reactions out of like these middle age group players participating in like the Squid Game. Once like the Squid Game begins, it's definitely my consideration. So like the people, then that of the number of people in like the red come through their CCTVs would be like especially watching all this and it would be affecting the behavior and the personality of like each and every like the ones that are bold among like the and that the middle age group like the ones that are bold and have like a leadership quality like basically to figure out who such people are and basically and not only like the ones with like the leadership quality but like ones that have more of like a villanistic kind of like trait and the ones that are like genuine and like the ones that among them that are basically extremely kind-hearted and the ones that are extremely weak and fragile and basically that way to like study these the I mean like those interactive with the players to and also like the ones that are probably clueless and basically goes with the flow with like what like the majority of like the other players will be doing like basically just that way categorize like the entirety of like the 456 like middle-aged player is like through that success and proper assessment by precisely sending would be like what's happening right now by precisely sending that precise girl into like that precise uh, room where like all that positive is middle age group and about attack Squid Game candidate are presented is definitely my personal theory and position. Also, like my theory and position that like can be that person in like the black suit and basically wearing like the black mask like and the him to definitely be most likely the billionaire who's like basically running like the Squid Game. It's definitely my personal theory and position. And definitely him as well as like all the and all the defenders wearing and I'm considering like all those people wearing like the red uniform will be I'm considering like even though there will be a whole lot of with way more people with like a red uniform who will be like precisely most likely with their guns will be like most likely that participating in like this could game like this could game start like as like the defenders is definitely my percentage evolution while the process defenders people in like a red uniform who are like watching over through like the CCTV and all that like they are not only stay there and assess through CCTVs like all the each and every single moment of like this could game and everything definitely my percentage impression so but like all of them like precisely wearing masks that will be obviously to like precisely hide their identity And even like the worst case scenario that like basically one of like the participants or like that type of like even if that one like even the person like escaping and making it all the way back to like the city. And basically if such a scenario even happens so that like they won't like the people running like this big game like basically none of them doesn't get into trouble like especially because of that reason like they might have won all these marks. Definitely my person to remuneration. So and also my person to remuneration is definitely that like precisely still according to my person to remuneration that like still that the price got that basically had told from like the protagonist who's like right now in like that precise huge room where like the entire captain the fourth physics like middle-aged player are like basically her basically alone like revealing her face and showing her face will be precisely maybe like her on her own accord like basically taking that absolute risk of like revealing her identity and like I'm delivering like the person running like the Squid Game might have wanted like one of the to basically one of was just to like precisely play this role of like personally studying all the players and basically even though that has a risk like Amber differing, he might have told that girl offered that girl some sort of like a huge sum of money as like a reward in exchange for putting for doing that risky job of like revealing her face to like the participants. All the attacker participants is definitely for participants attacker participants is definitely might be reimbursed. So like that might be what like happening right now. It's definitely definitely immersion. So let's say like definitely the impression right now as for like according to like the people like the leader of like among like the people in like the red uniform. So they definitely the defenders like uh, the handsome price that like basically is lying away for like the people in like the green uniform most like the attackers like if they win 6 games so they protect like it would be most likely not only just that but now also like having their all of their organs stolen and being sold. It's definitely my theory and correction. So like my and like the Squid Game would be just like a cover up to do exactly that. It's definitely my theory. But though like I'm preparing maybe like before like selling it out like maybe like they might also like want to know that so like my personal impression is like either the school case would be just a cover up for that solely due to like the of like the billionaire person like basically the person in like the black uniform like soon running would be like running the school game only being as sad as that's only one person that I'm for or like the school game would be precisely contested with like the precise intent to like through like the school game to like precisely find out like which organs and senses like basically which organs are like which among them have like the most healthiest like specific organs like basically to precisely figure this out like basically that might also be like an intent behind conducting like the Squid Game like behind like all this attack of like all this great number of players like as they will be participating in like the Squid Game with like most likely the threat of like losing a single game like having possibly asserting in like their like basically well put under like such extreme pressures like basically each among them will be having like like basically like the functioning of like their organs like basically while participating like the in like games under such extreme critical pressure like kind of like situation maybe if like so that so maybe like in order to that way like to for like the person running like the Squid Game people has like categorize like among like the attackers like among like the candidates to categorize like the people and their specific organs that are like the best functioning and basically maybe to like eventually sell that to like the uh to the like the biggest billionaire and basically categorize like the selling process according to that like the most wealthiest of people will be like sold like the most functioning organs with like the hierarchy going down from there like maybe like what like the person running like the Squid Game will be planning through this like Squid Game. It's also like another possibility that I'm going to bring in this in the industry. But definitely no particular impression right now is that basically the shape that is structured square as well as triangle. These three shapes and the triangle will have a lot of relevance and it wouldn't just be like intended just to like cover like the identity of like the defenders like that people in like the red uniform they don't it's definitely not the impression. But different like most likely maybe like the currently like the defenders being like classified into like a lower rank set of like defenders and like an upper rank set of like defenders based on their skills. Definitely my variable. Such category and hierarchy maybe like being present is also definitely my variable. So like I'm different with like square being like the among like the like people in like the red uniforms that are showed up right now, basically the precise person with like the red in like the red uniform with like square with like the square shaped mark like being like the leader, and while like all the remaining defenders having like circle mark, a circle shape drawing on their marks like I'm different. So like square would be like with like square being the leader, like I'm different, like this being like the lower rank set of like defenders, while like the upper rank set of defenders would be all having like literally with like the entirety of like the excluding like the leader, like the entirety of the defenders would be in red uniform would be like having all of their marks having like square drawings, while like their leader alone will be having like his mark with like triangle drawing. It's definitely members in triangle. So like that way, like a hierarchy possibly being present with like two sets of like lower and upper rank defenders. Categorized solely based on their skills and precisely because of that, like I'm also bring like once like this game begins, like I'm also bring even though even like I'm also bring like the lower rank defenders being like extremely difficult for like the protagonist standards like remaining mid lane candidates to even be able to like face off against. It's definitely my personal impression. And and then these lower rank defenders itself like giving a lot of trouble to like the protagonist and his like and like the remaining attackers of like the initial scenario that I'm suffering. But like I'm suffering to be precisely eventually once that whole checkpoint place where like I'm suffering like that way like the protagonist either actually being like Inspector Royal or like him given being given like some sort of like a title, different title in like the Squid Game. That's like the total theory of that I'm suffering. Like there will be that halfway checkpoint in like the Squid Game with like 6 games happening in taking place. It be each look like each game was like taking place in like 6 days, like I'm different after precisely 3 days, like there will be that whole completing the third game will be like that first checkpoint. It's definitely my book premise. So like the precise person among like the attackers to precisely first complete like the third game would be considered as like would be given would be most likely getting that added benefit, and that would be like most likely that extra like it's definitely my personal impression. So like so that like the person complete making it to like the checkpoint first among like the titles would be like getting like an extra life, and so like an extra chance even if like so and that precisely it being precisely the protagonist that to get that extra life and like him so that like he could like totally lose the game and he still not have his like a life taken by like the defenders. That way like him getting one more extra chance to play the game. It's definitely the scenario that I'm considering. That way like the protagonist either being like Inspector Royal or like him recollecting his memories of like Inspector Royal, like the initial scenario that I'm considering. And then also that's like the question and theory that I'm sitting out, and also that the other theories that we lead to do precisely after like the third day, after completing like the third game, after that halfway checkpoint, I'm considering from like the fourth day is when I'm considering like the defenders to like change from like the lower rank defenders to like the upper rank defenders with like the majority with like a or except like the leader, like everybody or every other defender at that point from like the fourth game onward, like having like square shape drawing on their map with like their leader alone having like a triangle shape drawing on his like map. It's definitely my personal. So like after like the halfway checkpoint, I'm different from the fourth game onward, like I'm different the game, the school game to like get a whole lot seriously tougher. That's definitely my personal impression. And I'm preparing precisely after precisely after like the third game, like the first people surviving like the third game, like I'm preparing uh, the moment they would be participating into like the fourth game, I'm preparing like a whole lot of them would be like totally dying solely due to that extreme difference in like difficulty from like the fourth game onwards, especially my personal impression. Also, like my percentage impressions also that they need since like the Squid Game show has basically 2 seasons and by separating bunches of episodes. Like one person this maybe for like the first season should totally end with like the protagonist and like the his like remaining attack of survivors like finally making it to like the checkpoint with like the season one ending with like the protagonist like basically making it to like the checkpoint first. So that's season one ending and like the so like basically my person theory and predictions that basically either it could be like two ranks, especially two ranks in which like the defenders will solely based on skill, in which like the defenders would be like classified in like with like a lower rank and upper rank. Or like the other opposite that I'm referring, there probably existing like three ranks of like defenders, especially based on skill. Is like the other possibility that I'm referring with like the lower rank being like the except for like the leader with like the square shape drawing on like the map, like all the remaining having like a circle shape drawing on their map, like the that being like the lower rank, the middle rank being like certainly like the square shape drawing with that only like the leader having like a triangle shape drawing on this map, while the remaining crew would be having like square shape drawing on their map and with like the upper rank being having like upper rank leader precisely being like that precise person with like the dark with like the black suit uh him being the leader and his like all having like all being like having marked with like a triangle shape drawing is like and that being like the upper rank and that way three ranks of like dependence based on skills and hence toughness is like the other possibility that I'm also bringing. And my personal impression is that like if this is like the show Squid Game has like two seasons already. Like I'm considering most likely it would be like season one would be most likely ending precisely when like the protagonist would be making it to the halfway point. Precisely when like the protagonist would be like the first person to like complete like the third game that would be taking place on like the third day and would be like the first to make it to like the checkpoint and precisely when like the protagonist would be singing of like basically of like his memories of being like Inspector Roy and like basically precisely at that point like I'm remembering maybe like the season one ending or like at that point like basically or like I'm remembering it with like the fourth day and beginning and precisely once like the fourth day will be beginning precisely when like the protagonist will be expecting and his like remaining survivor attackers would be totally expecting like the same kind of like defenders like at that point like the middle rank defenders showing up. That's like the other possibility that I'm doing. And at that point itself like basically like season one ending. That's like the other possibility that I'm considering. And then season two, like then after like the season two being like days games 4, 5, and 6 and basically with like the middle rank uh, with like the middle rank defenders the protagonist and throws like facing off against like the middle rank defenders and then above the maybe for like season two precisely of season two would be I think like the protagonist and just like among like, the 456 like participants like above the ring at that point maybe like only like very few surviving maybe like around 10 or like under 10 like basically surviving and making it to like making it to like the precise uh, making it to like precisely finally completing like the completing like the sixth game is like that eventual scenario that I'm considering. So like at that point like when like the protagonist and like the remaining few survivors like would be totally finally feeling relieved and think that like now at least like they will be able to like escape this like dangerous Squid Game and also with like such a handsome prize money and all that like really when they would be like totally feeling hopeful like at that point like basically precisely like the person running like the Squid Game showing up and that being like that absolute twist and him changing the role for the Squid Game and saying that the Squid Games would still continue even after like the sixth game even after the sixth day that way him changing up the roles and basically that at that point like basically that was happening with like him along with like a bunch of like people in like a red uniform with like triangles drawing on the map like basically showing up as like the upper rank defenders that like the protagonist and his like remaining survivors need to face and maybe at that point like basically precisely like the person running like the Squid Game like him with like the black suit and everything like him basically revealing that basically this entire time like there was like another Squid Game happening parallel to your Squid Game with like it being like the Squid Game of like the youth age group and basically they too have like a bunch of survivors. So like you two would be now having to like compete with between you two for like maybe a next set of like six space. Like you two would be like collectively be like the next candidates for like the next big game that will be taking place for like the next 6 days. And so like basically the remaining survivors of like the youth age group that had played the Squid Game precisely parallelly over the 6 days, like basically then putting it like into like the same team as like the uh, survivors of like the 6 day survivors of like the protagonist and his crew as well. Basically, and that way, them collectively being a team and then having to like play another set of like a 6 day Squid Game with like the person running like the Squid Game in like the black uniform, like basically him as well as like his triangle throwing defenders. Like, and I'm wondering at that point, like there will be a whole lot great number of like defenders. Like there will be a way greater number of defenders at that point. That will like increase and maximize the difficulty and to totally ensure that basically none of them survives and completes like the Squid Game. Like this will be like most likely like that is happening, and this will be the decision that most likely I'm considering uh, for like the person running in like the Squid Game, like the person in like the black uniform, will be like eventually bring this like revenge scenarios that I'm considering and merge it into the immersion. And with that would be how like I'm interpreting like the second season of like the Squid Game would be ending precisely with like this exact reveal that like the Squid Game the leader has like that the person running the Squid Game has decided to like change the rules of the Squid Game, and the Squid Game will still continue for like 6 more days. Like at that point, like as like the protagonist stands is like through the like shock that like basically like season 2 of like Squid Game ending and like it's like the venture scenario is like a kind of like a remote possibility that I'm also remembering and my possibility impression. Oh, okay, so like definitely my possibility impression that like even though like currently like the people in like the early uniform are politely answering like the candidates in like green uniform as they are like extremely confused and like asking questions one after the another, and so preferring one among the candidates in green uniform right now uh, starting to like question in like an aggressive manner because of all the confusion, and also like at that point itself straight away like one among like the either the leader or like one among like the people in like the red uniform like straight away taking his life like the scenario that I'm considering, and that would be like that absolute beginning point where like that entirety of like the candidates of like the Squid Game in like the green uniform are realizing like the seriousness and seriousness of the situation that they have brought themselves into. It's definitely my personal remedy. That would be that beginning point when they are realizing that basically they have totally messed up. It's definitely my personal impression. So like and that I'm considering that to be like the point when like that absolute fear getting like instilled within like the people, the candidates in like the green uniform towards like the people in like the red uniform. Except for like the protagonist, like I'm considering, except for like the protagonist as well as like that person that basically had like that precise uh, uh, woman that basically had stolen from the money from the income protagonist. I'm considering, except for them both, like I'm considering the majority of them like basically having that experience fear instilled within them at that through that very incident of like one of like the people in like the red uniform totally just casually like taking the life of like uh, the one of like the candidates, especially my version like that they would that absolute fear towards like the people in like the red uniform through that incident getting instilled into like the minds of like the majority of the green uniform is what I was just only putting like so that like the majority of like the green uniform totally being rolled over by that fear, and basically would be like precisely trying to do everything exactly like the people in like the red uniform will be like telling us like the defenders will be telling us to do while I'm trying to do precisely like the trio of like the protagonist as well as that girl as well as that aggressive guy that basically uh, that even try to like fight the protagonist like temple. Different these three would be like the only people that would be like not having like would be totally bypassing that fear and would be like totally thinking of basically for to find an opening and find to totally find a way to like possibly take this eventually figure out a strategy and to eventually look for the like person looking for like an opening to like certainly outsmart these defenders, these people in like the red wall top and all that. Like it's definitely my thought very much. And I'm also putting like the possibility that I'm also putting is that it will be precisely after like and I'm also putting like either like these three, like the protagonist, that girl as well as that aggressive guy. The three of them like basically completing like all three of the games initial first half of like the games and making it to like the checkpoint. So it's like the protagonist being like the first person to make it to the checkpoint. Like the one possibility of like a scenario that I'm looking for. The other possibility is basically for like the protagonist as well as that girl to make it to like the checkpoint while that aggressive guy would be totally uh, dying towards like the very end of like the third game and him alone like not being able to like make it to the checkpoint is like the eventual scenario that I'm looking. And by then like I'm preparing that or by the time that they will be like participating in like the third game like I'm preparing like the whole quarrel and fight between each of them will be like only getting solved through as they will be like facing all this like extremely dangerous and critical situation of like the Squid Game and playing the Squid Game and all that like through that intense situation like them being forced to like basically eventually being forced to like help each other out and that way like a bond to an absolute bond being formed between like the protagonist, that girl as well as that aggressive guy is like the scenario that I'm going to protect. A bond of friendship being formed between them and so because of that I'm also protecting if like eventual scenarios like right before like the protagonist and that girl would be making it to that checkpoint like basically if that aggressive guy even dies like right before making it to aggressive guy dies like right before making it to like the uh, right before completing the third game and making it to the checkpoint, then about the running it would be like totally extremely disturbing for like the protagonist as well as the girl at that point. It's definitely my consideration. Also, like definitely my consideration is definitely that like among like the candidates like the precise old man with like dementia and was preferring him to be like the precise first person to like most likely die in like the very first game. Once like the skill game begins, like also like the scenarios well that about the again I don't remember. Also like definitely my consideration section right now is also that like among like the defenders like the people in like the red uniform they are in the like the mask and all like I'm referring there definitely would be had there definitely would be one person that like the protagonist would be knowing far too well in his life, maybe even from his childhood. I'm personally thinking maybe leaning not just about it that maybe it being like Sango, like that surprise child would be like most likely that might have been like the childhood friend of like the protagonist and might have been like a daughter brother to like the protagonist like that and would be like the son of that lady in that fish market. It's definitely my first impression. So like I'm also thinking like Sangu possibly like his like whole like that whole it might be like an absolute fake image that he might have created that is like only well off and basically working abroad and all that basically in actuality maybe like his like true identity would be like and the actual thing that he might be doing in his like real life would be like him basically being working for like the Squid Game as like a defender. So also my positive impression. So that being a possible scenario is definitely also my personal impression that like Sangwoo would be that one among the defenders and then eventually like during the as like the protagonist would be like succeeding in like the games and proceeding further and further. Eventually like the protagonist like while interacting with like one of the defenders like the protagonist like noticing something familiar and basically the protagonist being able to like figure out that basically that one among like the defenders is actually Sangwoo. It's definitely my problem. But like the protagonist not revealing that, but like the protagonist like shockingly realizing that. It's also like an eventual possible scenario that I'm also covering. And there's only one positive that I'm considering. The other positive is basically that like Sangu, I'm considering maybe like being part of like the and the other positive that I'm considering is like more of like the remote kind of like positive that I'm considering. And that is for like Sangu to be part of like the other group of like the candidates participating in like the Squid Game at like parallel to like the current Squid Game that like the protagonist and like the middle age group and about uh, group of candidates will be participating in like the 6 day Squid Game. Like at that point, like in parallel, basically Sangwoo and like the age group of like the youths like basically that age group candidate, that Sangwoo being part of, when being one of the side age group candidates of the youth that would be like in parallel will be participating in like the 6 days game as well. And that way, like maybe like we could be picking precisely after like the protagonist like completing like the entire 6 days of like the Squid Game, and the protagonist survive at that point. And at that point, like basically it's like absolute person leader and absolute person among like who's like running like the Squid Game showing up, and basically him revealing that basically there was like another set of Squid Game happening parallel to your Squid Game, and basically it's not just for the six people alone that participated in like the Squid Game. Basically making that reveal, and basically him revealing that like exactly like in your case, like and I'm remembering it should be just like by the time like the protagonist will be completing this Squid Game, like only it's just being like protagonist and like just a few other candidates alone like surviving and making it to that point. That definitely most likely total number of 110 from fourth position is definitely my brilliant. So like the similar situation happening even with like uh, uh, not the similar situation, but like even in like the case of like the age group of youth as well, basically like the precise people that would have completed like the 6 day games. I'm considering still for in the case of like the age group of youth, like them being a bit more than 10, like the survivors who would have completed like the 6 games being like their number in total being like a bit more than 10, and one among those survivors in like the age group of youth being precisely Sangwoo. So like at that point, like after completing like the 6 game, and like once like the leader and like the person in like the dark uniform like making the reveal that the Squid Games are going to continue for 6 more days, and basically like the survivors of like the age group of youth as well as the survivors of like the age group of like the middle age and above would be like precisely teaming up and playing like the next six Squid Games up ahead. And basically at that point, like once like these two, and only at that point, like basically, like these two age groups, survivors that play the Squid Games, like we're even seeing each other for the first time. And at that point, like both the protagonists as well as like like the protagonist being shocked that the Sangwoo as well was like that in parallel was actually being present in that location and was playing like the Squid Game and had survived to like the 6 day, survived to like 6 day, like the protagonist seeing Sangwoo right there as like the attackers in like the age group of like the youth, and basically so like the protagonist being shocked, extremely shocked and like mind blown at seeing like Sangwoo, and the same thing happening with like Sangwoo seeing like the protagonist as well. It's definitely my personal reality. So like in the case of Sangwoo, like even though Sangwoo might have been like either Sangwoo might have been totally successful and well off, yet like Sangwoo might have wanted like easy money, so like he might have decided to like join the Squid Game. He might have heard about like Squid Game from someone, and like made, and it might have been totally a false news, and basically like the and that way some was well totally falling into the trap without realizing the true dangers behind like this video. That's like one possible that I'm differing. Or like I'm also saying Sangwoo might have totally put up this like fake images of like he's like totally well up, and in actuality like Sangwoo as well might have been in like serious step, and so like Sangwoo basically also having like participated in like the Squid Game to like pay off his like debt and everything. So that way like after completing like this games, like the protagonist seeing Sangwoo and basically totally being shocked at seeing Sangwoo. So like the other possibility that I'm going to bring in the end. Okay, so like definitely I'm talking to your embarrassment right now as for like the leader in like the red uniform, like basically from giving like the last chance to choose it like the candidate like in like green uniform what to play the Squid Game or not, like that would totally be a that trap. It's definitely my personal opinion here. Especially after like uh the especially after like the people can like Squid Game like going through all this trouble to basically uh basically to specifically trick and lure them and trick them all the way to like this location phase of like the building of like the Squid Game, like, and about the it would definitely be this building would be like most likely in like far away in like undisclosed location far away from the city. That's not even possibility. The other possibility is maybe it will be like a location in like which the island, the location where like Squid Game will be taking place. It could be in like some private island. It's like the other person to that and so like after going through all this trouble, like I'm personally totally putting definitely for like the people running links with game to like not just casually let like the to actually give them like even after all this like basically I'm going to bring them not bothering to like give them a last chance to like basically leave like the building of the Squid Game. It's definitely not a very much. Precisely the moment like the protagonist like set the password and got into like the search car. Like at that point, I'm considering he might have and at that point itself he might have totally fallen into like that absolute trap of like the Squid Game. And from which like he wouldn't be able to like absolutely no one would be able to like easily escape at all. Definitely not remember. So like right now with like the leader in like the red uniform like even giving a choice to choose whether to like leave or like basically stay and play the game to game like that would be totally at the trap. So like I'm just wondering maybe like the maybe like the person running like the Squid Game might only want like he genuinely wants to play the Squid Game to even wants to game. He genuinely wants to have that desire to like to play the Squid Game alone to play the Squid Game. Like others need to like for like the person running the Squid Game, he might not be interested in like people who are not interested in like playing who are like least interested in like the Squid Game and who are like the ones that will be like quickly giving up. Uh, like he would such candidates like Amber Pickering would be of no interest to like the person running like the Squid Game to see their gameplay in like the Squid Game. So certainly my person Pickering. So like Amber Pickering like the person running like the Squid Game might have given that order to like defenders that basically if like anyone people say they ask this question as like this that trap secret that trap of like a question it's like and giving them the chance as if to like make it appear as if like he's giving the leader of the defenders like giving them a chance to choose if to like if they want to like return back or not. When actually like if anyone even says that basically they want to return back, like at that point itself I'm also cutting like the leader of like the defender or like one like the defender will be straight away either taking them with them and basically out of that safe room where all the positive uh, candidates are present and basically then he will be like tell like that one of those the defender will be like taking the life of that attacker that across the centers after all this. It's definitely to play the game after all. This is definitely my consideration. Straight away, it's like audience in this so straight away. Like my legendary generation. So it's either going to be such a scenario that I'm like developing or like the other possible scenario that I'm like developing is like definitely I'm considering one at least one among like the entirety of like the four like candidate the I'm considering at least one among them to actually say that basically he or she wants to like only go back. He doesn't want to like that they doesn't want to like play the game and he wants to like go back. Like I think one of among them would be like saying that like the scenario that I was bring and straight. The other positive like straight away like one of like the defender on hearing that straight away like basically going up to him and basically straight away taking his like and that like being that being that ultimate shock for like the remaining of like the 455 participants and candidates of the decision and then that way like them instantly realizing that they have been totally trapped and that fear being instilled onto all of them and basically it's like the other possible scenario that I'm considering. Definitely, I'm considering one among them to like definitely say that like that person wants to like go back, and that person would be like definitely die. Definitely, my person to understand not be returning back, but instead would be like taking the life of by like the defender. It's definitely my person to into scenario that I'm considering and not person to represent. Also, like definitely my person to represent right now with like Kangu even being present among like the top 56 candidates like participating in like the stadium and also participating like definitely for Kangu to like most likely definitely die most likely definitely fight or like making it to like the checkpoint is definitely my percentage impression. So like it will be to in like the third game towards like the very end of the third game that Kangu will be dying is definitely my percentage impression that I'm making right now. It's definitely my percentage impression. So until that third game, I'm preparing like the protagonist who would be like only who genuinely cares, who still even to the person they would genuinely care so much about like some, then genuinely have that absolute feeling of like a brotherhood or like a friendship towards like someone. I'm preparing like the protagonist definitely still having being skillful at like playing this Squid Games and everything way more than the others. And I'm also preparing the protagonist to like use all that potential of it to like totally help Sango out and carry Sango all throughout like Sango's journey in like the playing like the first, second, and third game. But like I'm referring towards like the end of like the third game, would be when like the protagonist like would be getting into like a situation where like he wouldn't be able to like help Sango. It's like the event of the scenario that the protagonist will be doing such a absolute everything to like carry the Sango through like completing even like the third game, but like I'm still that attempt as well towards then failing and basically with like Sangu dying right before the protagonist would be making it to like the checkpoint. But like the scenario that I'm talking about different and that being that ultimate shot for like the protagonist. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm talking another very much. Okay, so like definitely like very interesting right now with like the lead of like the defender of Infrared uniform that revealing the glass piggy bank in which like money will be accumulated after each game. I'm also putting that precisely what will be revealed as for like the prize money that would be like revealed after like completing the first game. Definitely my personal impression that like the prize money would be like after each game would be like equivalent to like the prize that each of the players after each game would be like that will be failing and dying like each of their that collectively would be added up and made into like the prize money after each game. It's definitely my consideration. That way, like in like a totally wilderness manner, like the game would be set where the soup totally turns like each of like the attacker candidates against each to attempt like each of the attacker candidates to like turn against each other and to try to like push and try to like force each other to like fail in the in like the Squid game so that like they could get that much more of like that much bigger of like a extremely tempting prize money. It's definitely my personal theory. And this would be how like the currently like the Squid game would be set. It's definitely my personal theory and prediction. So like basically in short, like the scenario that I'm predicting is usually after like the very first Squid game itself, like a lot among like the 456 candidate players like it would be like dying, and I'm going to bring um all of their that equivalent money to be like after like the first game would be over, like the survivors will be witnessing like uh the last piggy bank like basically that money falling into that last piggy bank and that collective sum of that money being equivalent to like the collective debt of like that those society players that didn't survive like the first game. It's definitely my preference. And that way to like precisely that and this would also like precisely be created like the game would be set up in precisely such a manner to precisely also possibly do to like with the persons running like the Squid game would totally want like teamwork to not happen between like the candidates like according to like the intent of like the person running the Squid game like teamwork you will be totally against teamwork it will be against like the players working as a team and to totally destroy like any chances of like such possible teamwork to maximize the probability of like such a teamwork not happening and like each of the candidates players like turning against each other and trying to like push each other to fail and that way trying to take each other's life. Basically, this is exactly what like the person running like the studio wants, and like this is like what I'm definitely only predicting to eventually also happen. But still, I'm also predicting the protagonist eventually being able to like realize that like seeing what is like the key, and here's what like potentially the person running like the Squid game doesn't want like basically, and like the protagonist that way like realizing that teamwork is like definitely key to find an opening through the Squid game trap and basically that way like the protagonist eventually like forming his own team and creating a team between like a bunch of people. It's definitely candidate it's definitely like in the scenario that I'm bringing another thing. So like my percentage impression is that actually this would be most likely the reason for like the leader of like the uniform defenders like not revealing like the prize money even before like the first good game even begin was definitely my percentage impression. Okay, so like definitely my percentage impression right now with like the three clause of conditions for like that way to me all of like, the candidates are finding to for like the game and those liberating the third clause would be precisely intended to restrict all of like, the candidates. Definitely my percentage impression. Because like my percentage impression that like the third clause that basically like as for like the Squid game being terminated if like the majority agrees like basically that would be like set up to restrict all of the candidates because like the third clause would be because like my company regulations that like the third clause will be totally connected to like the first and second clause that basically that they are not allowed to like refuse to play, and basically the fact that if they stop playing like they will be eliminated, and eliminated like it will be definitely suspended by the defender, the name of the defender. So like even if like the majority agree to even if like the majority, the third clause that even if like the majority agrees, the game would be terminated. Like it would mean that the majority agrees like basically not only it wouldn't be just like the Squid game, even though the Squid games would be like terminated, still all of them as well would be like instantly taken the life of, precisely due to like the precisely due to like the clause connecting like the first and second clause connecting it like the third clause by at that point like all of them like being considered as like individuals who have refused to like play the Squid game and have stopped because like at that point they will be all considered as like individuals that would have like refused, not only refused to play the Squid game but also have stopped playing the Squid game, and hence like according to the clause deserving of being eliminated, and by eliminated like they would be like totally, the defenders would be totally taking their life. So like the scenario, so like through such a manner like the defenders and like the people running with the Squid game, like the defenders would be totally blackmailing, eventually blackmailing the candidates entering into like the Squid game. Definitely my personal, especially because like my personal is that like the moment like the candidate would be ambassadoring like the Squid game to totally begin like the moment they would be like even entering like the room where like the Squid game, where like the very first Squid game will be even taking place. It's definitely my personal rendition. So like the moment they enter into like the room itself, like ambassadoring, maybe like a timer starting, and basically essentially it being considered by the defenders that like the game has already begun. So like then basically I'm considering the game, the very first game itself to be like extremely scary and dangerous, that basically like all of like, the candidates will be totally shocked. The majority of the candidates will be totally shocked and scared that basically the game itself even would be so extremely dangerous that like even making a single or tiny mistake in that precise game would instantly mean instead that's even due to the nature of how that game would be built up in. It's definitely my personal impression. So these are an extremely dangerous game in itself. It's definitely my personal impression. And but like they would have like the candidates at that point would be not having any choice because like even refusing to like play the game would mean like them being, because like the defenders would definitely be having guns like and also bring them dying by the hands of like the defenders. So it would be either only two choices left would be only be present for them to either uh, risk their life and try to attempt such an extremely scary and dangerous game, or like basically like refuse to play the game and that way get their life taken by the defenders. It's definitely my personal. So this would be that ultimate trap that would be setting up that like the defenders and like the race people running in like the Squid game would have set up for the poor and innocent candidates like signing like that precise three clauses right now. It's definitely my personal impression. So like basically in short, like my personal impression for like once like the Squid game begins and basically on right away like once like the substitute game when the reveal like it's being it's being totally extremely scary and dangerous that basically the entirety of like the candidates like majority of them being like so extremely scared for their life that basically them all trying to take advantage of like the third clause, and them all only saying to like the dependent leader of the defenders that basically like through the third clause, like our majority opinion is basically to like terminate like this picture. So like they would be or that's like the scenario that I'm doing. So like at that point, then all thinking that basically that the defenders would be like terminating that dangerous Squid game and giving them another game. But like right then I'm just bringing them to the ear of like the defender revealing to them that basically the third clause is connected to like the first and second clause. So you are all seen as like individuals like refusing to like play the Squid game and like stopping the Squid game. Simply because like of like the moment you enter into the room, like basically the Squid game has begun. So like basically, so like you would all have to like face elimination or death, or like you would you have only the option to like basically even by the third clause you only have the option to like collectively face death. Uh, it like would be what like the leader of the defendant would be telling to all the candidates at that point, especially members in the river. So like that way, like the candidates having like no other option, and basically extremely scared and extremely scared and in an extremely reluctant manner and those differing like the candidates maybe one by one attempting that extremely danger very first good game and I'm also differing a great number of them that only trying through that very first good game itself and it's like the scenario that I'm considering always bring in also like I consider prediction for like one possible definite initial future scenario especially for protagonist to eventually find an opening and and that the strategy to escape and one strategy that he would be using will be precisely to take the advantage of the fact that all these defenders and all these people running this good games are basically wearing a mask and fully covered basically to precisely take down one of them and basically about to bring the protagonist somehow either during some sort of a situation or somehow the protagonist figuring out a way to bypass the CCTV camera and or by somehow spotting the CCTV camera eventually figuring out where exactly the camera is in the room and basically somehow managing to destroy it or something somehow bring uh, the protagonist succeeding in that somehow in the eventual future scenario where and Amber either it Amber it to not be the protagonist but Amber one of the protagonist spring Amber the candidate among the candidates through the whole struggle of surviving in this good game the protagonist making a lot of great bonds with a bunch of these candidates certainly and bring one of them to totally infiltrate and basically just take down one of the succeeding taking down one of the red costume defender and basically succeeding in this that way disguising as one of the defenders. That's the scenario. And that way, according to the protagonist strategy, I'm going to bring the while after that whole situation, I'm going to bring the Squid Game to continue again. And at that point, the Squid Game will be continuing among the defenders that will be standing and standing right next to the candidate while the candidates will be playing the danger Squid Game. One among those defenders would be precisely one of the candidate friends of the protagonist in disguise as a defender. Of a definitive angel scenario that I'm posted on the end of the second person. Yeah, so the main of the second person right now as for the smile to the camera thing before before starting the first game I'm also this would all be basically the person running this game creating all sorts of evidence I'm also even exactly the clause the three clause would be basically also in creating evidence as if to as to basically all these candidates willfully entering into the good game and as well as basically making them smile into camera also basically creating the be the person running this good game creating evidence that basically all these people candidates have voluntary and willfully uh, participating in this good game this photos of them smiling or that would be evidence creation definitely my personal preference. Especially because the film to my personal version that definitely this good game would be extremely scary and extremely dangerous. So I'm considering at that point I'm considering and to have a lot of relevance definitely my personal version the evidence creation process I'm considering it to happen before right before participating in each and every single right before each and everything is would be starting, not just the first, but before the second and third and all before all six good games I'm able to bring this exact format to the initial format to be this exact same thing with them having to them being forced to smile into camera and I'm also bringing though right now before starting the first good game while not while none of while the majority of the candidates would be not even expecting anything seriously suspicious or something anything seriously threatening or dangerous in these two games their initial smile to the camera before attending the first game the majority of their smile would be a genuine smile but I'm considering after going through the extremely dangerous first game which I'm considering to be extremely dangerous and after after realizing the reality of the dangerous situation that they are in I'm considering what before, right before the second skill game even starts I'm considering the survivors would be forced to basically to a face smile as well especially due to the clause that basically they can't start the skill game they can't stop the skill game so I'm considering stopping the skill game midway resulting in elimination and that would be precisely like they would by then like understand this that basically by elimination would mean like certain death by the defenders with guns and all that. It's definitely my documentary approach. So exactly exactly because of them feeling like absolutely trapped, like I'm considering like even though like the initial smile before like the first good game would be like the a genuine kind of smile for like the majority. I'm considering from like the smile to get harder, like it's been harder and harder for like the remaining survivors to like smile this like these extremely dangerous to game that path like after like the second answer like this like these game being more dangerous, way more dangerous than the previous good game. Like the smile as well being like extremely harder and harder for them to like smile, to put on that fake smile in front of like the camera before starting each of like the next and next Squid Game. So definitely the major scenario that I'm looking at again as the game. Since all these like evidence creation would be also in according to like the person running the Squid Game according to his plans that basically he would be also expecting like the worst case scenario for him where like eventually someone escapes and basically the truth about this like Squid Game, which would be like definitely done in like with like the absolute free in like the person like delivering skill if like someone were to like eventually escape in the future and that way like basically the truth about it's like Squid Game and how it takes so many lives and how dangerous it was. Like if that news leaks and basically the rest of the world finds out about it for then for like basically like the most likely the billionaire who's like running like the Squid Game like basically for him to like basically be able to like defend in like a legal battle with like the precise reason him like right now would be even creating all this evidence by making them sign all these clauses as well as like basically also making them smile in front of the camera that way to like create such an evidence as well as like before each of like this attending before attending each of the interesting games like they were all willfully smiling and like willfully were happy and like willfully and voluntary were like participating in like this extreme each of the extremes like danger of games solely due to like and like they also would be like creating evidence of like and there will be even more evidence of like that like the person running a Squid Game would have also created, which would be precisely the records as to like basically all this and my the information that like the three of like these candidates would be people who would be into gambling and who would be into like taking risks and gambling and such games and all that is definitely my opinion. So like this way collectively creating evidence that basically they all like willfully had like participated in each and every single one of like the extreme danger to games. Would be that evidence creation that would be happening right now by like telling all the candidates twice before on the camera before starting the game. It's definitely my opinion. Also, like me myself in the rain person that I'm still thinking on those basically that like the person in like the dark outfit, like in like the black outfit, like basically wearing like the black like basically him being like definitely would be like a billionaire who would be like a surprise person running like this game and might have game of decided to like create like this game and had the idea of like creating like the such an extremely dangerous like probably definitely dangerous like this game and all that like and I'm also putting him to totally be like exactly like the protagonist, like when he was like that's what said like leader running the Squid Game, like when he was like a child, exactly like the protagonist, like I'm considering he too might have been like obsessed with like Squid Games is definitely my consideration. That precise Squid Game that like the protagonist have played during his childhood, like I'm considering like the protagonist as well back during his childhood might have been totally obsessed with like that Squid Game he played in his childhood and exactly like I'm considering might have been same thing with like the with main villain like that precise person running like the Squid Game and like and the person with the precise person with the dark outfit like he's back during his childhood might have been totally obsessed with like the Squid Game. It definitely might have been a great performance in that Squid Game. Might have known how to like play the Squid Game so well, exactly like the protagonist. Definitely my personal impression, and that might definitely even probably being inspiration behind creating like the such a Squid Game in like such a range of Squid Game in like as we grew up as well. It's definitely also my personal impression. So my personal impression that maybe just maybe and this is like more like a remote possibility that basically the childhood friends of like the protagonist while that played along with like the protagonist like the Squid Game during like their childhood, like basically one among the friends of like the protagonist and the thing maybe being this precise villain and because like that those childhood friends of the protagonist like where they are right now in like the present as they grew up like would be something the protagonist would be absolutely having no idea at all like so like I'm considering the remote possibility that maybe one among like the protagonist friends uh, who uh, who played along with like the protagonist the precise game during game during the childhood like one among like the protagonist friends who might have basically was always jealous of like the protagonist because like of like the protagonist always like almost like I'm considering like it might have been like almost like the protagonist might have been so good with like Squid that like almost each and every single time it might have been always him that might have made it to becoming like the Inspector Royal and I'm considering precisely because of like the protagonist like sexual performance it might have even back when he was a child like it might have been always him that always been sweeping the victory in like the Squid Games. Definitely my personal favorite and like while this villain while he was in during his childhood he might have only played along with like the protagonist and he might have always had that extreme envy and jealousy towards like the protagonist and he might have always he might have frequently always ensured to like be in like the opposing team as like the protagonist and he might have only wanted to like defeat like the protagonist and he might have only desire the victory in like the Squid Game and he might also badly desire to be like Inspector Royal but like he might have never been, he might have not been like so good at Squid Game back then that he might have not been able to like win the Squid Game or like defeat the protagonist or win like the Squid Game or even become Inspector Royal, not even one in this childhood definitely methods of language. And that might have like totally that unsatisfactory feeling and frustration might have lied within that precise villain from childhood and maybe like in like the person this would be how he might be taking out all that frustration through this precise Squid Game. This danger of Squid Game is also like a possibility that I'm considering and maybe like of like a one among like the multiple possibilities that I'm and theories that I'm considering and considering this. So like maybe if that's the case then maybe like the villain precisely the villain with like the dark outfit him precisely knowing like the protagonist like he's secretly having kept track of like the protagonist this entire time is even after all these years past like basically him always having this plan eventually as he grow up like that villain having the plan to like eventually create such a danger good game mainly intended to precisely maybe mainly intended for like the protagonist that's also like a possibility that I'm considering and that's also so like maybe like right now as like the protagonist is about to play this good game like Amber and the villains would be like it might have been through like the villains like conscious trap set for especially the protagonist along with like all the other random people that like it might have been a conscious trap set by like that like villain in the dark outfit set for like the protagonist through which like the protagonist um, might have eventually ended up in the good game. It's also like other possibility that I'm looking at only parting like he might want to like the villain might have never shown up from lectures like whole student anger and frustration and jealousy towards like the protagonist and like he might want to like get revenge for like not ever being able to like defeat like the protagonist. That's also like a possible theory and possible see that I'm looking at only parting. So I'm considering definitely like eventually I'm considering like the scenario to be like basically with like definitely specific to my considering I mentioned that like one of the protagonist totally like facing the odds like even though the odds will get only against like the protagonist like I'm considering the protagonist eventually creating a team between like the candidates and I'm considering like the protagonist eventually seen as like all of the leaders and basically that absolute teamwork like the protagonist eventually even getting like one among them to basically like infiltrate into like the defenders by taking down one of the stealthily taking down at some point in the subjectively taking down one of the defenders and like one among the protagonist from like uh, basically infiltrating and disguising as one of the defenders and basically that way eventually like persevering the eventual future scenario which I'm bring would be happening maybe in like season 3 of like the students like when that campus bring like the protagonist and his like few few candidates attacker candidates would be like the only remaining survivors, and with their collective strategical effort and everything, like them taking out and taking the life of and bringing down all the remaining defenders. It's certainly my best frame result. So that eventually it will be only the protagonist as well as a bunch of his attacker friends as well as just the lead wearing the dark outfit, basically him alone basically remaining, and then about separating him basically at that point with him losing all of his defenders and everything, him totally going into it totally being extremely angry and frustrated with the protagonist, that him deciding to basically risk it all, and basically him also deciding to play a Squid Game, a one versus one Squid Game with the protagonist, him and the villain, the main villain, and the protagonist alone, playing a Squid Game, and that to unconsidering possibly maybe being the final showdown scenario in which the most dangerous of all Squid Games, basically that being precisely the Squid Game that the main villain and the protagonist would be playing, and then separating the protagonist eventually struggling his way into eventually defeating the villain, and as the villain would be about to win that final Squid Game at that last second, the villain making some sort of a mistake, and that way the protagonist winning that, and so, the villain making that mistake, it's resulting in the instant death of the villain and the protagonist, that way completing that Squid Game, the most dangerous Squid Game of all, and basically that way the protagonist as well as with all the defenders being taken out, as well as uh, the main villain with the dark outfit as well, dying, and was separating the protagonist and his two remaining survivor attacker friends, basically finally leaving and escaping, finally succeeding in escaping the Squid Game building, and basically finally making it back, and then only at that point rest of the world finding out about the extreme danger of Squid Game. Definitely the eventual possible one another possibility of a scenario and the theory and the possibility and the prediction that I'm making and my person. Okay, so definitely my person impression right now is the front man, or the person in the black outfit, they even reporting to someone about the games about to begin, reporting. So definitely the front man won't be will be just in charge of basically will be some person with the highest power, who's in charge of basically precisely and perfectly, with who's who have been who might have been only assigned with the duty to perfectly conduct the uh, keyboard instruction to subordinate defenders and all that, and ensure that the Squid Game takes place and is perfectly conducted and takes place perfectly, to ensure that the job or this duty might be assigned to precisely this front man. So I'm considering even though the front, and my personal impression is that right now is definitely that the front man would be the best Squid Game player right now in that location. Is definitely my personal impression. So his skill would be fiercely rivaling that of the protagonist. It's definitely my personal impression. He might have only practiced seriously hard in his life for far too many years, practicing the Squid Games. Also a possible my possible theory and prediction. Either the front man would be someone who's actually interested and obsessed with Squid Game, and the front man would be also is definitely my person theory and prediction. But I'm surprised it should be precisely the precise person to whom the front man would be is in fact right now reporting to as basically all the preparations are already as to basically that Squid Game is about to begin, basically the person to whom the front man was reporting to would be the actual billionaire who's actually funding the Squid Game and everything, basically. So the reason behind who would be that billionaire would be the actual reason behind the Squid Game even taking place. It's definitely my person to understand. And I'm different that billionaire might have definitely been the precise childhood friend of the protagonist, is definitely my person to understand. Who might have always had that envy and jealousy towards the protagonist, when the protagonist was always get was due to the protagonist successful Squid Game playing skills, him always being the Inspector Royal, as well as him always his team always winning due to his successful performance. There might have been that one kid that might have been feeling extremely jealous and envy of like the protagonist. And like that one kid that might have never been able to like might have desired to be like the Inspector Royal and might have badly desired to like win like this game, but might have never been able to. And like what might have happened might be like once like the protagonist grew up, like he even though the protagonist might have been like might eventually ended up being pulled in depth like was differing on the other case like that other kid like who was like extremely jealous of like the protagonist him as like he grew up like that intent to like basically the thoughts about like the Squid game, the fact that he would never be like an Inspector Royal and never been like this game, that thought might have never left his mind. And so eventually, as we grow up, like we might have formed this plan in his mind to like create his own like actual a dangerous version of like the Squid game. And in order to do that, like he might have realized that basically he would need a lot of money. So like I'm going to bring eventually as he grew up, he might have ensured that basically he might have eventually turned into like an extremely wealthy. He might have done everything like an ambassador. He might have done all sorts of like villainous things to like basically make a lot of money, and that might be how like uh, the first cap might have eventually ended up being like this absolute billionaire, and basically he might have then like especially found like the right people and using them like he might have created like like Squid Game, which definitely might, he might have used all that money that he had created to over the great number of years that he has made through this like winner from that all that money that billions that he had made over all those great course of like the great number of years he might have spent a good portion of it on to like the Squid Game. It's definitely my personal impression. So like my personal impression is also that like that's a billionaire childhood friend of like the protagonist that who's now all grown up like him still having that like extreme sense of like wanting to get revenge on like the protagonist might be like the reason for like the protagonist in the person even ending up being in like the Squid Game is definitely my perspective. So like maybe like the entire Squid Game being like precisely a trust set for precisely the protagonist by precisely that childhood friend of like the protagonist who's now the would be like a billionaire who's like running like the Squid Game right now. That's definitely my personal impression. So like my personal impression is that it is exactly still the precise exact childhood friend of like the protagonist who would be right now a billionaire and would be like the person running the Squid Game to whom like the front man would be right now reporting to that basically the Squid Game is like about to begin. It's definitely my personal impression. So like definitely my personal impression right now that I'm still thinking on to basically that like eventually there are some of the things there to be like a final one versus one Squid Game battle between like the protagonist and like the front man. It's definitely my question for their impression. Like the front man would be well trained in, would have trained a lot in like Squid Game already. It's definitely my question. Like, but the front man might be most likely the precise person who in that like whole state and had basically played like the precise card game, but like the protagonist is definitely my question. So like I'm considering like that whole eventually finally in like Coach Squid Game, like finally like a one versus one Squid Game battle between like the frontman and the protagonist in which like the protagonist would be literally struggling his way into like defeating like frontman. That's definitely my question. And I'm also like maybe like some most likely the frontman like making some sort of mistake in between because like the pressure would be too much, like the frontman will be frustrated, that would be so extremely frustrated that like the just like the protagonist, like I'm just like about my person theory was like this excited to be an even presenting for most likely being even set up by that childhood friend billionaire of like the protagonist to facilitate to make the protagonist suffer and take the life of the protagonist. Yet like the protagonist probably eventually like overcoming all that odds and basically that probably frustrating like the childhood friend. But like the protagonist who will be like secretly watching all the also the performance of the protagonist and hence like but like the boss being frustrated, like the frontman as well being particularly frustrated and angry with like, the protagonist and desperately wanting to take the life of the protagonist. Yes, like so like with that for pressure, like the frontman will be playing that final one versus one Squid Game with like the protagonist. So like that was pressure forcing like the frontman to like actually make the mistake and have the thing in like the frontman that in that way like the protagonist winning that the final Squid Game. But that will be when I was putting like right now the that even at that point like the Squid Game not being over and the spring that would be when like the actual original childhood friend billionaire who's like currently like this billionaire running the billion him to like separate show of himself and basically at that point like basically revealing that basically he is that like childhood friend of like the protagonist and basically how he had mainly like the protagonist always getting to be like the Inspector Royal and always like winning like the Squid Game from the childhood and all that. So like at that point then for like that for that like childhood friend to be like suddenly like the millionaire like I'm to like the same totally challenge like the protagonist to like one versus one Squid Game in which like I'm especially because my talking to remember that like it will precisely go extremely all sorts of cheating and villanism that like the childhood friend of like the protagonist like as he grew up might have made all the money and basically might have turned into a billionaire. And also bring like showing that extreme cheating as well as like unfair way of doing things in precisely even in that like final showdown one versus one quick game that is like the protagonist in which like the protagonist like childhood friend like him would be like most likely using all sorts of unfair methods to and like to be playing that Squid Game in like the that final Squid Game in like an extremely safe manner with that extreme unfair advantage while like the different like the protagonist having to like play that extremely dangerous Squid Game in like the original manner with like all that extreme odd against like the protagonist still and the protagonist still like somehow struggles playing to like defeating that like childhood friend. And I was like maybe also like a scenario where like the childhood friend would be like getting all that unfair advantage and still with like the protagonist like by then like the protagonist having like played all sorts of students so much that basically the protagonist would be like that much skill would be like getting that much sharp at that point that basically even with like all the unfair advantage and unfair safety like basically even with all that like while the childhood friend would be competing with like the protagonist still like the protagonist being able to keep up and so like the friend like only getting frustrated and trying to like uh, through even more unfair manner like basically trying to forcefully take the protagonist's life and by maybe like attacking like the trying to attacking attacks like the protagonist and basically that way to like have like the protagonist maybe like lose balance and that way fall into like the protagonist that or something like basically the childhood friend attempting such a extremely unfair manner while competing with like the protagonist in like the studio and like any of the scenario that I was putting and that attempt of like the cheating attempt of like, the childhood friend eventually causing like the childhood friend as well to like make some sort of a mistake leading into like the childhood friend that's like the childhood friend himself like falling into like the one of like the trap of like the even the thought that phase he's still falling to one of the traps of like that final skill game and the childhood friend of like the protagonist that basically him die in such a manner and like the protagonist that way like basically completing that final skill game and basically that way like the protagonist like winning like the entire skill game and like basically the protagonist like basically he is escaping along with like all of his like remaining the protagonist escaping with like all of his like remaining friends. And at that point, I'm considering even though like maybe like the piggy bank, the last piggy bank containing all that money would be present right there. I'm considering neither the protagonist nor his like remaining survivor friends, attacker friends like would be present there. Like would be like investing money at all from that point on. It's definitely my personal. They will be scared of seeing money at that point because like they will be always thinking of like the squillion whenever they would be seeing like so much money at that point. It's definitely my personal. So like them all changing and they'll be them all having their mindset changing and them all like appreciating it and seeing like so much gratitude and totally being extremely happy that like they were able to like survive and like with that like the only them all not even taking all that money in like the piggy bank and it's just escaping like to the station building and basically heading back to like the city and like and deciding to like live in like a straightforward manner hardworking and straightforward manner because like the signature scenario that I'm just only bringing in a considerable impression. Okay, so let us bring on the impression right now for like the game one of like the Squid Game with like them being faced with like the like giant girl doll like and those bring that would be like an actual robot. It's definitely my personal impression. Like the appearance of like a giant girl doll. That's definitely my personal impression. Like would be a robot and about to bring and since like my personal impression is definitely that like it would be like firstly like the childhood friend of like the protagonist who might have had like envy to like the protagonist might be currently like a natural billionaire like kind of the he would be like able to like that using all that money would be how he would be able to like even create such uh, such a game like the Squid game which would like require a lot of money to create, especially my create. So he might have even bought a robot and basically might have turned that robot into like making it looking like a huge girl doll, and also something like that girl doll most likely having like all sorts of like extremely dangerous weapon, and he's trying to like chasing after like all those great number of these candidates trying to like take their life. It's like the scenario that I'm suffering, and their task will be to like precisely. And my percentage impression that like their task might be to like precisely like it could be like playing tag like I'm suffering. They would have like some sort of like a sticker or something, and they would have to like go up to that precise giant extremely dangerous like a robotic kind of like shirt or and basically would have to like succeed in like sticking that precise sticker or something onto that giant or without dying. You'll see like the task and the game is definitely my personal impression. So that lets the my preference for what the game would be like. Okay, so like the cleaner of the impression right now is definitely that like the red light, green light game, like I'm just trying to move the president that for OldMan with like the ring that it will be like suddenly moving. Not being able to like stop precisely when like the doll shouts the red light and I'm just bring that in the doll I'm supposed to bring it would be like a super advanced like a robot definitely within definitely my working brain. So like I'm bring before even like the old man or like any one of them will be even having any even time to like even react like I'm bring like that or straight away using some sort of like an extremely advanced weapon like very instantly like with, within like milliseconds like basically that remotely they will be taking the life of like the old man to definitely my pyramid and it won't be just him like I'm bring like a bunch of like the a lot of them, of them among like the participants, among like the candidates, like I'm something will be dying. It wouldn't just be like the old man. It's definitely my personal version. Even though I'm preferring like the old man to go first, like I'm preferring a bunch of other candidates as well to die, and I'm preferring equal. The precise reason would be precisely because like even like the minute of like pitch of like movement like the while the ball will be like turning back saying like red light. First of all, I'm considering like especially when it says a red light like the robot will be so extremely fast when it turns back. And at that point even like the minute pitch of like movement would be like detected by that precise giant robot and it would be like precisely using that advanced weapon to like basically take the life of everyone to even all of the candidates who even like the slightest of movement is definitely my secondary emergence. That being like that absolute bit of absolute extreme of like a shock to like the and that would be like the point where like the whole uh shock and trauma becomes for like the for candidates of like the uh, good game is definitely my scenario that I'm looking at my secondary. Okay, so like definitely my bigger ambition right now for like a red light, green light game, like and everything, even though like it's like the old man this dementia that's basically taking the lead, like I'm delivering still I'm delivering the overall man would be like having like this dementia if it's like kicking in precisely as like the old man will be about to like reach the red line. Especially my business returns that slightly coincidentally happening especially during like the red light sign and like the robot will be turning back and like straight away like due to like the signature effect like I'm also bring the old man moving and I'm also bring that him totally like before like completing like the first game and reaching that red light. It's like the narrative that I'm delivering in the way also. Yeah, so like definitely my personal impression right now with like that one candidate like totally holding on to like the protagonist like and begging that the protagonist to like save him like not for the like the protagonist definitely in fact actually save him and that it wouldn't just be like within like time even with like time being so less like I'm considering right now would be that leader in like the protagonist would be arising and coming out and like, right now by especially the protagonist craving that person begging for help like I'm considering that leader in like the protagonist like to be visible for everyone. All the other candidates is like the scenario that I'm considering. Even with like time running so short, like I'm considering still the protagonist like perfectly saving that person that was like holding on to like a protagonist like I'm considering like the protagonist like that leader in like the protagonist even that suddenly a courage happening in like the protagonist, and like that leader in like the protagonist like second like the protagonist coming out and protagonist telling him that instruction that basically to that they fall down to like the protagonist like and about to bring the protagonist dragging and basically like precisely to keep moving forward and precisely right before like the time will be running out and to bring like the product while the protagonist will telling him to like precisely hold on and not make any movement and about to bring right before like the protagonist would the time would be running out and the protagonist would be like precisely crossing that line uh, with like that further holding on to like the protagonist like so definitely the scenario that I'm talking about and my person and my tertiary impressions definitely that like saving that person like who needs in health like would be doing so much for like the protagonist. Not only would that leader like that was like dying, but then like the protagonist like ever since like from way back during the protagonist childhood days when he was like totally the leader who like all of his like fellow teammates like depended upon when he used to play the Squid game during his childhood. Like basically all that memories like kicking in, gang getting activated and kicking in and uh, being like the protagonist remembering all that perfectly. That spirit of like that like gamer within like the protagonist like basically getting awakening is like the scenario that I'm going to precisely as like the protagonist like would be succeeding not only like winning that very first round of like this good game but also saving like being able to like see once again be that leader and save that person that was holding on to like the protagonist like that would be like an absolute boost to the protagonist as like a leader. So definitely members in the reimbursement. That will be that absolute boost and that absolute push that will be like certainly pushing the protagonists to be able to like start to like actually uh, get used to like the extreme danger of the school game and like start to like basically perform in like the feminist game with that absolute courage. Definitely members in the reimbursement. So like the film I'm watching the way I'm watching right now is that like even though like the old man with like dementia has completed like the first game, like I'm just still my particular impression right now is definitely that like the old man with like dementia is definitely not going to be able to like complete like, the third game. Like he won't be able to like reach like the checkpoint level like especially after like completing the third game there will be that checkpoint like he won't be able to like make it there. Number the point right like right before like right after like the old man will be about to complete like the third game. Like I'm also playing like the remake effect to basically chickens and then like that with that like basically the old man only forgetting where he is and basically start observing in like that's definitely my personal impression and by that like by that by that like by for uh, and by all that time like I'm also playing like the protagonist would have totally bonded a lot with like that the old man but like so like it would be like Cindy that protect the protagonist to sudden disturbing protect the protagonist to like totally at that point to walking to like totally lose that old man. It's definitely my thought and I'm also putting it to most likely maybe not just be like the percent gang that I'm going to be protecting would be like initially the gang would be like the gang of like the protagonist son books and that specific girl who had stolen from like the property and like basically that other aggressive guy like basically and the precise old man with dementia. These would be like the initial gang, certainly my person. This would be precisely I'm referring to be formed precisely after like the game first game is over. Like I'm referring this like them to like the interaction more and there is a whole gang to be formed between them. It's definitely a being with form being formed between them initially it's like definitely my personal relation. But like in even that team, like I was referring and I was referring that that other person who had saved the protagonist as well uh, from falling that basically like to escape that team as well to be part of the gang or team initially. Definitely my personal relation and my personal relations are like by the time that the personal protagonist would be eventually finally completing like the entirety of like the Squid game and like and defeating like the main boss and basically the frontman as well as like the billionaire who will be like to whom the type exact island in which like the civilian would be taken place will be belong to still that's my personal perception and like after like the protocols would be even defeating that billionaire who definitely might have been like the childhood friend of like the protagonist and all that. Like basically after like all that will be over and once like the protagonist would be like finally succeeding in like escaping from like the Squid Game building and from that island. At that point, I'm also the only people from like the protagonist gang uh, that would be only surviving and escaping along with like the protagonist and the trying it would be only either it would be only that girl who precisely initially had stolen from like the stolen that 4 million from like the protagonist. Either it would be most likely only her alone that would be like escaping along with like the protagonist. Or I'm considering it would be the protagonist her as well as like that aggressive guy as well. The three of them finally making being like the only person to like finally make their escape, or like I'm considering to be like the two of them, the protagonist and that's the like it's definitely like the eventual scenario that I'm considering and I'm considering. Also, like definitely like the Hungarian person as for like the girl who had stolen like the 4 million from like the protagonist that the protagonist initially won like this before entering into like the Squid Game like at the spring. Her even after stealing the 4 million, like her even going up to like the Squid Game will be precisely because like my impression that it will be precisely because of like her has felt precisely trapped exactly like the uh, how like the protagonist was trapped and eventually lured into like precisely entering into like this game like her as well might have been precisely targeted like the moment she had stolen like the 4 million from like the protagonist. If my person represented precisely because like my person impression that precisely when like the launcher were chasing after like the protagonist and the protagonist was running away like, from them like at that point itself I'm preparing this person who with whom like the protagonist has played the card game with like P2 might have been precisely secretly spying and secretly might have been spying and seeing like the entire thing like the launch shot chasing the protagonist and everything. And then looking about the map of the person that I'm sitting on this like definitely just like that surprise person like with whom like the protagonist has even played the card games with about the predictions even basically revealing that basically the protagonist has signed some sort of a contract relating to things like basically it would totally have to do with like precisely that precise launch are even chasing after like the protagonist and caring and forcing like the protagonist into signing uh, using some like basically signing a contract like that contract might have definitely been like the contract comes to like the Squid Game and that for that purpose is definitely the whom like the protagonist had played the card games with definitely my person relevant. So like precisely because of like this reason my person generation that so like according to my person theory and prediction like since like it might have been precisely when like the protagonist was targeted by like the people behind like the Squid Games and hence like the launch starts chasing after like the protagonist in such a it was in such a situation that that's the place girl had basically stolen like the 4 million from like the protagonist and considering she too might have fallen under like the attention of like the was that precise person who's like connected to the Squid Games, this film like the protagonist played the card games with Stephanie May wasn't and that might be how she too might have gotten targeted and might have eventually been lured into like entering into like the Squid Game. Uh, Precisely through like her the 4 million she stole like precisely most likely having stolen once again getting stolen from her by most likely that precise uh, person with whom like the protagonist played the card games with definitely my person Korean. He might have probably stolen with that up itself, might have probably stolen like the 4 million from that girl. And then he might have probably shown up in front of her exactly like how he showed up in front of it, the protagonist. Like or like he might have sent one of his men to like exactly show up in front of her, exactly like how he showed up in front of like, the protagonist and through such a similar manner. She too might have totally gotten trapped into entering into like the game solely due to that sole act of basically stealing like that 4 million on that very day, on that very situation from like the protagonist. It's definitely my personal theory and correction.